I met J.J. Abrams on a Monday as a huge fan, just as like, this is a guy who I worship and adore, and I've seen Felicity, and I've seen Alias, and like, oh my God, J.J. And I just want to be J.J. And I had a meeting with him on a Monday afternoon, and then 5 days later, on Saturday morning, I got a call from the president of ABC saying, we are making Lost, based on this outline that JJ and I had written together, and both our names were on it. And so I looked down at this document, a 23-page document that just said Lost with quotation marks around it, and it just said written by J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof. And that was when I was like, whoa, this show is never going to get made. And if it gets made, it'll never get picked up to series. And if it gets picked up to series, it will be canceled after 9 episodes. Wow. But there's an ampersand.
But other than that, you're a real optimist, right?
As I'm fond of saying, like, I'm not glass half full, glass half empty. I'm like, there's a glass.
I love that's a great line.
I gave it to Jack Shepherd in Lost because he's wired in the same way that I am and has a dad almost as loving. But I looked down and I was like, 6 days ago, this guy was as unreachable. He was on the highest of pedestals, and now there is an ampersand separating us. And like that, people talk about overnight successes, and ultimately it's really there's a certain amount of you want to call it luck or fortune, good fortune or whatever, but when your moment arrives, you have to have been at a point where you paid your dues or done your 10,000 hours or have the requisite talent or whatever. But the idea that this kind of stars aligned and that thing happened, and it was a whirlwind. It was tectonic. It felt like my life really just kind of completely and totally shifted in the space of a week and has never been the same since. And I did have a sense that had just happened at the moment that it did.
Did you sit in a room with JJ and go, what about this, what about that? How did that work?
Those
first few days.
You have to put everything through the prism of storytelling and in hindsight. I preface this by saying, like, I would come home from school and say, you can't believe what this happened. This is all my memory. Mm-hmm. My memory of what happened in that first meeting was, I knew that I needed to come into that meeting with something because JJ didn't know me and he had never read me, and so I needed to impress him, and I couldn't just say, I love Alias and here's all the reasons I love Alias. I needed to have some ideas, and so what I came into that meeting with was what you just watched, was the opening of the show. I said, wouldn't it be great if the opening of the show had no dialogue whatsoever, and we woke up in the jungle with this dude in a business suit, and we have no idea how he got there, and he's wounded, and he pulls this little bottle of alcohol out of his pocket, and this dog comes running up to him, and he hears a noise, he's drawn to the noise, and that's how we realize that he was just in a plane crash. And the reason that I'm pitching it that way is this should be a mystery show. Because the one thing that is successful on television show is mystery. People love, like, mystery. And so this idea of, like, not just who killed the bad guy on Law and Order, which was a very highly rated show at the time, but, like, who is this guy? Like, what can he do? Why is that girl screaming? Like, why has this guy got tape on his hands? Who's Walt, and why is this guy yelling out for Walt? What's up with the bald dude who sits, like, let's just...
So you come in with this idea, and then he says what? Or how do you both move it forward from there?
He just goes, yeah, there should be a hatch. This is
the hatch came in that. Wow.
This is like 15 minutes into the meeting.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That I do remember very specifically.
What about the number sequence? I keep thinking, it's not the Fibonacci, but it's what I mean.
The Valenzetti equation. The numbers came later, but he said there should be a hatch, and I said, what do you mean? And he's like, they should find this thing in the middle of the jungle. And they should spend all season long just trying to get into it. And I was like, what's in it? He's like, I don't know.